Just love it when my meditation kind of really is something that I can really relate to, and I don't have to do much thinking to kind of bring it to relevance in this. And I have this meditation book that I use, and this one started off with Psalm 133, Hine matovu manayim shevatachim gam yachad. And the translation is how wonderful, how great, and how pleasant, how nice it is for everyone, brothers, sisters, achim, brothers, but everyone to dwell together. Um, and it's a weird little phrase, gam yachad, which really I believes put the stress on togetherness, and it is a pleasant thing. And anytime I kind of see the word tov, matovu, or hine matov, it's making some kind of moral um, moral thought around it, and what's good, what's bad, and this is good. It is good that we try and come together. It is a good thing that we try and come together. We can't make many statements about what's good or bad, but there are certain things that we all agree that are pleasant, that are necessary, that are needed, that help, that are important. And that's really what this is saying, is that we come together in unity, gam yachad, that uh, as a result of that being a common value, that we will come together. And the other thing too is shevet means to sit, to rest, that to understand that there needs to be a pause, a moment. Too often, I believe we get caught up in the day to day thoughts, concerns, challenges. That's what Shabbat's for, is for us to pause. But it's also important for us to pause in our daily life, to understand that unless we pause, unless we are settled, unless we are at times motionless, then the motions just turn into just more and more and more and more. So how do we get to unity? This is a beautiful psalm to kind of look at, to help us, is that we make a statement that pleasantness is important for us to come together, and that stillness is important for us to come together. So we have to remove that chatter almost in our minds around what we maybe think is right, wrong, and just pause. And from that place of settledness, then you can actually come together with someone. Isn't it true that when we think we know, or think that we have all the answers, it's very hard to come together? Okay, so we are in the middle of our Pirkei Avot, chapter 6, Mishnah 6. And we kind of started off, challenging folks to come up with a definition of spirituality that works for them, a definition of uh, um, spirituality, Torah, prayer, all these different things. And how do you get it? How do you achieve that kind of life? How do you achieve a life of Torah, a life of spirituality? How do you get that? It's not something you just wake up and get. Maybe there are people out there. That's not me. So, anyways, we talked about study and listening and understanding and discernment and awe and reverence, and we ended up there. And we will continue with um, yeah, we ended up with ba'anava, which is modesty, or really humility. What does it mean to be humble? I was under the impression that it meant lowly, or that you couldn't have things, or that you needed to live modestly, or things like that. I don't believe that that's what humility is. I believe today that humility is really being right sized, knowing what your place is in this world, knowing what you are and what other people are, and being aware that there's an inside life and there's an outside life, that those are the two worlds really that we live in, and knowing where one begins and where the other ends, and where the other begins and where the other ends. To truly know your place in this world is humbling. I've been working very hard over the past couple of months to find ways in which to really connect. Maybe it's been difficult for you to connect with spirituality or God or even other people, or ways in which we can kind of connect. And maybe one has felt disconnected. When we are disconnected, it's that we're not putting things together in the right way, in a way that helps us with that sense of connectedness. So that's partially what humility is being able to understand where it is that I'm not connecting, what I'm not connecting, right? How it's off balance. In other words, is that if it's off balance, then I'm not connecting those things that need to be connected. And that's the inner work that has to be done. Once that inner work is done, that I'm able to connect those things, then it's really interesting how the outer world starts to click. That to me, at least today, is what humility is. The next one is, of course, one of my favorites, basimcha. And simcha is joy or happiness. And we could go on and on about this. Is that this is what at least for me, is the real focus on life, is to be joyful, to find ways in which I can connect with joy in life. I mean, there's joy everywhere, there's happiness everywhere. And it really is about me creating the environment in which that can flourish. Am I somebody, when I walk in the room, that people are joyful and happy that I have come into the room? That should be a really big indicator of where I'm at internally. If I'm walking around upset, or with yesterday's problems, or concerned about what may come, people are going to sense that, they're going to feel that. How do I get to that sense of joy when I walk into a room, that people can really feel that it's coming from a real place of joy, happiness? That's really certainly, to be humble, one will by default. And I believe that these are in an order for a reason. The way these are laid out is that humility comes before happiness, is that you truly have to know your place. You truly have to be honest with yourself. A lot of dishonest stuff in the world, much of it comes within, that people are challenged at times, to find myself included, to find ways in which to truly be honest with myself, and to really be honest about what's going on, internally and externally. But once that starts to happen, then I can find true bliss or joy, whatever you want to call it. But it's through that I can find spirituality. Just imagine, right? If I'm in a I had a day in which was very upsetting, right? Maybe lost my job. These things happen. Maybe something occurred that threw me off, got into a car accident, some terrible hospice shalom, something like that happens. Am I going to be joyful? But I can't, right, let those outside factors affect what's going on the inside. These are incidences that happen. So joy has to really be a focus, right? Do I want to take control of what's happening inside, and really find joy and simcha, and find ways in which to really build joy in my life? So that's kind of just a few thoughts about joy. Because what we're going to find out is that unless I'm building something here, and if I'm building a life of spirituality, a life of Torah, a life of interaction, a life of really ultimately connection, it matters what I'm building on. If I'm not building on these certain principles that we've started, right, one of them being joy, how am I going to get to that next step? Too often we build, and anyone that's had done any building, or anyone that's created anything, knows that if you skimp at the beginning, right, and you don't work hard at the beginning, you may get to where you want to go faster. It may be cheaper. It may be something that looks nice, but in the end, it's not going to be lasting. So when you start peeling back and you start looking at the details, you start to see, well, wait a minute, something is off here. We are building on a solid ground here, and one of those things is to really devote time for joy. Am I, and we'll end with this today, am I spending time today trying to be just a little more humble and a little more joyous today? Um, and you can take a cheshbon, an inventory at night, and that really is your guidepost. Am I a little bit more joyous today and a little more humble today than I was yesterday? Small incremental changes, by the end of a period, we have built something really, really nice. Have a wonderful day. We'll pick up tomorrow.